Hi, how are you, James?
Good. I'm good. So what are we doing today?
Yeah, today we're talking about our new product.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us about yourself and about your role in native commerce team. Maybe you have some interesting things to say.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you for having me on this first broadcast. I'm James Wall. I look after brand, marketing, communications, and design at Native Commerce. It's a kind of multidisciplinary team, and we cover lots of different things from demand generation all the way through to content and looking at product and brand design, also future facing and how to represent ourselves on things like the website and creative. Talking about this topic is a really exciting thing for me at the moment because we are building what I think is kind of e-commerce without limits is the next phase, and I'm happy to talk about it.
So maybe you can tell what part of the product are you most involved in?
Yeah, so I guess for a little bit of context, we come from an origin of being a e-commerce company ourselves. And it's really interesting because it means that we have all of the knowledge and skills and technology to properly run an e-commerce business like we were many years ago under Jiffy. And what we've built since then is a really solid SaaS product, which is powering e-commerce brands globally in different regions. And we've reached this turning point, I think, in society and in the technology space. And e-commerce is not the only one, it's across lots of different other industries. But we've reached this point in e-commerce where the way that people like to build and the way that they like to develop and run their business is changing really fast. We have decided to kind of move into this space, leveraging some of those more innovative technologies like AI now. We've already been thinking about this for a while, but we're sort of reaching a point where we will be launching it soon. What it means is, to go back to that phrase I used about e-commerce without limits, what it means is the constraints of the past of having to, for example, build with certain front-end tools or connect those to back-end tools or use a complete solution are disappearing essentially. And what we'll see is kind of this introduction of an AI layer and the tools that will facilitate business owners and e-commerce owners to be able to do everything themselves at some point. That's kind of the longer term vision. And the way that we're doing that from our point of view, from my team, and kind of what we're trying to surface is how to communicate that story and how to tell that story and how to bring this to market. And so traditionally, we've been a B2B SaaS company. We've followed, I suppose, some of the classic models of how to do that, right? So you push out good content, you do thought leadership, you promote the product, and you advertise, and you kind of you're present, and you get leads, and you go through a sales funnel. And we're actually moving to a really interesting new phase where people will be able to test and use the product immediately, which is really exciting, and also be able to start building immediately as well. So our role in that is to sort of pivot the company essentially and change the perception and the front-facing, let's say, shop window of native commerce to one where you can immediately use the product. So if you think about the website experience, you'll be able to immediately start building something, much like you do with some other tools out there at the moment. And also leverage loads of other tools through kind of API SDKs, for example, where you'd be able to bring in designs from other places. And so it's super exciting. And that's just the initial phase. So our role in that is communicating this new narrative. What does that mean for when you first encounter native commerce? What's the kind of the slogan? What's the story? What does it mean when you join the journey with us longer term? And I think the unique thing for us in trying to develop this journey is that we already are one of the only complete unified e-commerce platforms out there that really can do everything for an e-commerce business end to end, with many uplifts and efficiencies across that journey already. It's something which actually allows you to build and create faster, but really works on the back end side as well. And that's exciting. So yeah, it all starts with kind of telling the story first, and how you do that through advertising, and how you reach people, and how you then communicate that through campaigns and different types of creative, and then how we surface that maybe on a website, for example, or in a brand video, and other ways, right? We may attend events and things like that. So we're thinking about all of these things, and then obviously how to kind of bring the business along as we're all also participating on a journey internally to kind of leverage more AI tooling and systems and ways of working. So yeah, super exciting.
How is this idea came about this product?
I think it comes from our founder, to be honest, from Marat. Everyone is aware of the tools and how quickly the tools are evolving, but you need kind of leadership to make these decisions. And I think through Marat, our founder and CEO, and also through Mike, our CTO, and the team behind that as well have developed rapidly on kind of the prototyping side, on looking at how this could look as an MVP. And then we've just moved fast. And that's how you have to move in startup world. And I think, when you look at our moment in time as a company, it just makes so much sense to do this. And as I said, it's often the case with tech, and even in B2B, that there are limits. There are limits and constraints, and there are walls that you hit sometimes in different industries. And I think in e-commerce, the longer I'm in it, and I've had some experience in retail as well, but the longer I'm in e-commerce, I realize the different blocks and walls and constraints that you can hit with, particularly with major players. And I think this idea of just really expanding the limits of what people can do and build and create. Imagine a world where people can literally create whatever they want in terms of visual design, in terms of banners, in terms of checkout experiences in minutes, in hours, in a few days. And then having that, what if that all worked magically with your order management system, with the way that your warehouse connects, and even beyond. Imagine you could prompt and build your own delivery and logistics system. It's really limitless possibility for actually running an e-commerce business, which gets very, very complex. So yeah, I think the team just made a really great decision to pivot to this, and everyone's excited.
Can we talk about the problem does this product solve, and what the result people can expect from this product?
I guess I'll start with my view of e-commerce and the realities for someone building a, let's say, legitimate scaled e-commerce business nowadays. Historically, you kind of have very strong focus on front end being websites, applications, right? The customer experience that comes with that. And there are numerous different ways of starting from that point. You can use some of the huge players who have kind of conquered the market a long time ago. You can use emerging players that have since joined the market. You can build it custom, you can build it in-house. And the reality of all of that is in e-commerce particularly, you get tied to a solution. And it becomes increasingly complex and challenging to migrate away from that as you grow and scale the business. So you go from, let's say, 1 order to 10 to 50 to 100 to 1,000. And the front end part, you realize quite quickly over time, is obviously one part of many parts of running an e-commerce business, right? You have operations to think about. Where do you store product? How do you fulfill product? How do you get something to someone on time? How do you go from where the product is packed or picked to fulfilled to then shipped and delivered on time? And what can happen is, similarly with the front end, you can add what people call parts to a stack of things. Like, they call it stacking because it's like one thing on top of the other on top of the other. And you can end up with a lot of different things costing you money for those things, first of all, being quite challenging to tie together. So one thing might have a different set of data, or one thing might malfunction while the other one is working quite well. It's this kind of unification of all these things that is a real challenge as you scale and get bigger. And then let's say you go even exponentially bigger than that, and you scale beyond 1,000 orders to 10,000 orders, and you become a really big brand. It becomes even more of a challenge, and you need even bigger tools that can handle that level of orders, that level of complexity. The complexity can go from a spreadsheet initially to, I really need a system to manage this. So with that context in mind, at the same time, you're trying to find customers, reach customers, develop your products, develop new ranges. So with all that in mind, you have decisions that are made throughout your life as a managing e-commerce in multiple different fields. And the complexity varies depending on industries, where our product comes in, and why I call it, liking this idea of limitless e-commerce, is because with the front end part, you no longer would be tied to having to create that with anyone else. You could have limitless opportunity to create whatever you need upfront. And then let's imagine, as it always happens, you want to customize things. You want to develop the design. You want to work, collaborate. You'd be able to do that as well. So update it as you progress. I want a new search bar. I want to change the checkout experience. I want to update the app. I want to refresh the app. I want to change the design. That's something you'll be able to do, right? Progressively. This is the vision. But also be able to progress your designs and progress your front end, which is so important, right? This is why people focus on this a lot in the beginning, is because it is often a differentiator in how someone experiences a brand. Everyone's been on a checkout experience that's not so good, and maybe you love the brand up until the last 5%. The checkout was kind of messy or didn't have your country or whatever it was, and you didn't buy. So being able to own all of that front end and build and develop things and create, amazing, huge, limitless opportunity there. Now imagine that all of that complexity could also be created, manifested, right? Or indeed updated or controlled with much more singularity in one place. That's also how this becomes this kind of limitless e-commerce business, right? And I think the tech is only going to evolve and get better and learn as well, because that's the nature of how we're integrating these tools. So alongside removing all of this complexity and costs of having a stack and being able to fully control everything from front to back, you will also have this intelligence layer where it could inform you, right? The same way that people talk to Claude or ChatGPT or whatever other tools people are using, it could inform you of how to progress things, or at least have another sort of business partner or co-pilot. Again, the limitless e-commerce idea is that nothing is a blocker. There's just limitless opportunity for a co-pilot like native commerce to be able to assist you, essentially. That's where I think it becomes this really, really exciting opportunity for business owners, because that's the nature of e-commerce, is that it's right now it has constraints, and it has constraints because it's the way software and the way products have always been made. But we're moving away from that. We're moving into a world where it becomes sort of limitless, again, to use that word again. Everything we're working on is really interesting and fun. I think, but the real reason for that is we are moving away from, let's say, a very niche group of people that we've been trying to attract and speak to, who are at a certain point in their e-commerce journey and maybe have a certain level of experience, to potentially opening this up to the world. So when you think about things like that, it really will shift the way you think about how to communicate things. So the message takes on a multi-layered approach. So on the one side, you might have people who've never heard of native commerce, who we need to kind of help them dream about the possibilities of using us, much like they do with maybe other solutions where you first get the opportunity to build straight away in e-commerce. But you also have people who maybe want to leverage it as prototyping or to build quicker without the need of development. And then you also have bigger companies who maybe want to leverage it within multiple different parts of their e-commerce setup, whether it's the operations or the warehouse or the front end or the back end. So yeah, I think all the stuff we're working on is really fun and interesting on that level, because it's you're suddenly opening it up to everybody. I quite like the website we're building. I'm quite excited about that because the experience itself and the tool we're using for that is more next gen, let's say, and I think it will represent a lot of the experience up front, because you'll be able to use the product straight away on the site. So it's kind of the product and the website become one. So that's really exciting, and hopefully the message and the creative and the visuals around that inspire, make people think what if, and imagine if, imagine the possibilities, that type of expansive thinking, rather than, let's say, focusing on pain points and solutions like maybe B2B is often labeled. And also we're working on a really fun dynamic kind of brand video, which is great. I think it has a really interesting tempo, narrative, and visuals, and it will sort of, from a brand and comms point of view, it kind of takes us on a different journey as well. So I think I'm quite excited about where that could go, because we built the brand with a great design partner last year, and it was intended to be a different brand in the e-commerce space in B2B, and we're now taking that on a slightly progressive journey towards being a premium, let's say, product which you can use immediately, that has some of the digital aspect that you would expect from that type of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting experience to also develop the brand in that regard. And then the possibilities for content also are endless. So I'm excited to see how we progress that. And we've done a lot of great work in terms of getting the word out of how great our product is. And I can imagine the feature set just expanding really deeply into loads of different things. And also we'll learn loads from our customer base. So there's a whole sort of community that we'll have to leverage and think about how to speak to them and get them involved in building more things and asking us to develop things. And it's a really, really cool roadmap of possibility for native commerce.